Hey, in this video, I want to give you guys 7 tips about what it's like living in Utah here in the winter. As you can see, I'm out by the freeway. It's snowing today, and that's one thing that you will deal with when you live here in Utah. So it's going to be a good video. I'm going to get after it right now. I'm Scott Walters, Best USA Realty. Been helping people since the early 1990s to buy or sell real estate here in Utah. I want to be that trusted and experienced advisor for you if you're thinking to move to the area. Look, the tips I'll give today, if you already live in the area, they're things you're going to be like, yeah, I already know that. But if you're coming from a warmer climate, these tips will help you kind of have a head start as you get coming to the area, the things that you need to know when you're living in a cold winter climate. I highly recommend that if you live in Utah that you have a 4-wheel drive. Now, does that mean you have to have one here in the wintertime? No, not necessarily, especially if you live in the valley. If you live up on the benches, up in the higher communities like in Utah County, if you're up on the benches of Provo, up in the benches of Lehigh or Woodland Hills, Elk Ridge, places like that, you better have a 4-wheel drive. You're going to need it. But oftentimes, you know, the temperatures warm up during the day. I mean, at night it gets below freezing, and then during the day it warms up to maybe 40, 45. Generally melts the roads and get in there. They're wet, but they're not slick or icy normally, and so you can get around without a 4-wheel drive. But sometimes you leave in early in the morning and it's a big snowstorm, you're going to wish that you had a 4-wheel drive. So that's my tip number 1, invest in a good 4-wheel drive. Okay, so another tip or thing you need to know about when you drive on the roads, this is what your car or vehicle is going to look like after you've been on it after a snowstorm. They drop a lot of sand and salt on the roads to help melt the snow and also to give kind of some grip and traction to it. So just know that this is what your car is going to look like. You may want to invest in like one of those car wash places. One of the other tips that I really like to talk about is make sure that your windshield wipers are in good condition. There's nothing worse than trying to wipe away snow off your windshield and all it does is just smear everything everywhere. So make sure your wipers are good to go. Another tip is make sure you have some good winter tires on your vehicle. You're definitely going to need them if you've got a car. You know, those tires on a car probably aren't going to cut it in a snowstorm. You're going to be sliding all over the place. So if you don't have a 4-wheel drive, make sure you've got some good tires. The Suburban here has got some pretty decent all-terrain tires on there. It does pretty well in the snow. So just a couple tips for you. Okay, so another tip, and this is something we've been at our home for 25 years, almost 26 years. At this home, I've always used ice melt. You can see the ice, your sidewalks will ice up, and so this is just for kind of a safety thing. I know that some people say don't put ice melt down, it ruins the cement, but again, we've been here nearly 26 years. We've never had anything wrong with the cement, so I think it probably has more to do with who installed your cement and if it was too wet. If they made the cement mixture too wet. So I think you'd be fine putting some ice melt down on your sidewalks just for some safety. So another tip is you need to plan for the weather. If you see a big storm's coming in, just plan to leave early for your commute into work, because sometimes your commute time could double, triple, maybe even quadruple based upon how much snow there is. And especially the first snowstorms of the year, it seems like everyone forgets how to drive in the snow, and some people are driving too fast for the conditions, some are driving way too slow. But anyway, you can expect to have some pretty slow commute times on a big snowstorm day, so just plan accordingly. And I would definitely recommend on sometimes when you have a big snowstorm, just stay home. Just don't go out. It's a lot safer sometimes. That's just a couple or a handful of times during the winter when we have storms that big. Usually they're fairly small and you can get through them okay. But when we have snowstorms that drop a foot or more of snow, your commute times are going to be pretty long. Okay, another tip for you is move the snow early off your driveways, because it does get below freezing at night. I mean, your driveways are going to be covered in snow, but when it warms up during the day, that sun can help melt that off and clear your driveways. Another tip here too is perhaps consider buying a home that's south facing. My home's actually southwest facing, and so the sun hits that driveway. Sometimes, like today, we had a snowstorm, but it's like an inch maybe. I wouldn't even really have to move snow. The snow would be melted by the sun. But then my neighbors across the street that have north facing driveways, well, if they don't move that snow will be left there all winter long because it's shaded and it's just not going to melt. So anyway, that's just one suggestion for you. Maybe consider in a south-facing home. But again, move that snow early and the sun will help melt it off and clear your driveways pretty quickly. Okay, so my next tip is you got to have a decent shovel because you're going to have some snow to move. And also, I would highly recommend If you have a driveway that's pretty big, you're probably going to want to invest in a snow machine with a snow plow blade on it, or maybe a snow blower. If it's a smaller driveway, not really going to need it. A shovel is going to be just fine. But if you've got a lot of cement, these kind of things are going to save you a ton of time. But one last tip when it comes to the snow machine is, because forever I had one where it just had a lever that I would pull up with my hand to pull up the blade, and it just wore my elbow out. So I recommend getting one where you've got a winch that lifts that blade up and down for you. Save you a ton of time and energy. Another tip for me is have a good snow scraper. There's nothing worse when you go out and have to scrape ice off your windows and the thing is moving a centimeter line up your windshield rather than doing 3 or 4 inches at a time. Make sure you get a good one. Invest in a good, decent windshield wiper. My one neighbor never parks in their garage, and they bought some, I assume something online. It looks kind of like a blanket. They just put it over their windshield, and then they don't get any ice build up on their windshield at all. But definitely make sure you have a good windshield wiper, because if you go to the store and it snows, you want something to scrape the ice and snow off of your cars. Okay, so finally, when it comes to winter, enjoy it. In Utah, we have some of the best snow on the earth. So there's all kinds of activities and recreation that you can enjoy because we have the snow. Of course, one of the first things everyone thinks about is skiing. Utah has fantastic skiing, beautiful ski resorts. They're generally pretty easy to get to. They keep those roads plowed up nicely, and on days where it's snowing really heavily, they're definitely going to recommend that you have chains or things to get up the mountains. But usually those roads are open. You can get up to the ski resorts to have a great time. Another awesome activity, snowmobiling. Boy, I'd highly recommend you try that out. There's a lot of places where you can go and just rent snowmobiles if you don't want to buy them. You can go up by Strawberry. They rent them out at the Strawberry Bay Marina, and also at Daniel's Summit, just up out of Heber. That's another great place to go rent snowmobiles and have a fun time snowmobiling. But also, there's going to be hills around wherever you live in Utah that you can go sled on. There's always going to be popular hills that you can enjoy. So just go enjoy them. Take your kids, take your family, and go have a fun time out just sledding on the hills all around Utah. Now, another thing is ice fishing. That's a fun activity to do in the winter. In fact, the biggest fish my brother ever caught was while ice fishing. It was a massive cutthroat trout up at Strawberry. So that's a fun activity. Hey, enjoy a snowball fight. Who doesn't like a good snowball fight? Don't forget to make the snow angels. And then another fun thing that you can do in the wintertime is wildlife watching. So oftentimes the snow will bring the animals down into the valley and maybe into the foothills and bench areas of Utah. And so like in our area, we have a herd of elk that comes down into an open field every winter. It's fun to go watch the elk. The deer oftentimes will come down and be where you can view them, as well as like turkeys. I was just driving around a neighborhood in Elk Ridge the other day, and there were turkeys all over the place. So that was a lot of fun. So just to enjoy some of the wildlife watching and all the different recreation activities that you have in Utah, and just enjoy the winter. Welcome to Utah. Hey again, guys, my name's Scott Walters, Best USA Realty. I've been working in real estate since the early 90s here in Utah. I want to be your trusted and experienced advisor when it comes to real estate. So if you're thinking of making the move in 9 days or 90 days, reach out to me. And if you already live in the area, reach out to me. I'd love to help you as well. Give me a call, shoot me a text, send me an email. I'd love to help you make your move, your transition as simple and easy and smooth as possible. Hey, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and tap on the notification bell so you can stay current every time I drop another video about living in Utah Valley. And with that, I'll catch you on the next video.